LaRouche understood that if the physical process of human beings changing their relationship to nature and to the universe through creative discoveries were disregarded and suppressed in an economic system, then that system would certainly degenerate and collapse, with that civilization along with it. This crucial difference between LaRouche's method and that of all other economists can be seen in a simple pedagogy known as his triple curve function. The triple curve function was developed by LaRouche in 1995 as a visual model to describe the behavior of any typical economic collapse process. During the economic collapse of 1987, LaRouche was the only figure publicly calling for putting the world financial system through bankruptcy reorganization measures to rebuild the world's physical economy.
The triple curve illustrates the collapse of an economy that's operating under a monetary system instead of a credit system. And it was a device designed by LaRouche to show how the economy operates under physical constraints, which, when operated as a monetary system, will lead to an inevitable collapse. A monetary system is a parasitical economic system run by private central bankers. And this system feeds off the physical economy, the important part of the economy that sustains us. What the bankers do is they direct the credit and resources of an economy into financial paper trading at the expense of the real economy. So what you see is a boom in trading shares and bonds and derivatives like mortgage-backed securities and collateralized debt obligations. And this boom in this type of trading, increases exponentially. And that's the financial aggregates curve of the triple curve. Now, while it's growing, the physical economy is being looted because it's being starved of credit that's being drawn out of the physical economy and shoveled into financial paper speculation. And consequently, you have a collapse in the physical economy. And this is represented by the bottom curve of the triple curve, sharply turning downwards in the opposite direction of the growth of the financial aggregates. And you see it happening all around us, right? Because the important parts of the economy don't get invested in. Infrastructure does not get invested in at the rate it should be. Manufacturing does not get invested in at the rate it should be. Agriculture gets starved of credit. And you see a collapse in those areas. In a country like Australia, we see collapsing infrastructure all around us. Our major cities do not have reliable water supplies. They're running short. They do not have reliable power systems. The great city of Sydney has just suffered 2 power blackouts in a row that no one can fully explain. Right? This is a supposedly advanced industrial country. Our rural areas are being depopulated. Our country towns are being turned into ghost towns because agriculture is collapsing because it's not being invested in at the rate it should be. And so when the curves of the triple curve become completely disconnected from each other, right, when the physical economy can no longer sustain and feed the financial aggregates curve on the triple curve, you have a total breakdown. And at that point, the system has to be put through bankruptcy reorganization, or no one will survive.
In the year 2000, LaRouche updated the triple curve as the global financial system hit a critical breakdown point. The financial system had entered its final phase of disintegration.
He revised the triple curve to show a process whereby monetary aggregates overtook financial aggregates. The rate of growth in monetary aggregates overtook financial aggregates, because what was clear is the economy was at a point where governments were just effectively printing money. And what Lin showed is that when this growth in monetary aggregates overstripped financial aggregates, you reached a point which was the beginning of financial hyperinflation. He began warning that the world was heading towards a repeat of Weimar Germany in 1923, where it took a wheelbarrow of money to buy a loaf of bread, except on a global scale.
Monetary systems under the control of private financial interests have always been devoted to the usury and subjugation of human populations, reflected in the way that the physical economy is looted to increase financial wealth in the hands of a tiny financial oligarchy. In this way, ever since the British Empire was formed following the Treaty of Paris in 1763, its existence has relied on the manipulation of peoples, and more importantly, on the control of a global monetary system through free trade, which maintains control over populations.
We say, what is the body of the British Empire? Well, let's talk about a slime mold. What you have is the core thing is a mass of people called bankers, speculators and timber types, Venetian type, usurers. The users are engaged in trying to control the world as a whole, exploit the world as a whole. And they're killing each other in competition at the same time. So now you have a club like organized crime, and organized crime is based on this model. It's a Venetian model. You have a bunch of predators, usurers. They kill each other by night. They rob each other. They wipe out whole parts of their tribe and create new parts of the tribe. So now you have a slime mold. There's people who represent this, who are engaged in a game, like a gladiatorial game. And they're determined that they're going to control the world. That is the empire. It's a sociological process, a dynamic sociological process of that type. And this process says it's going to rule the world. And whenever somebody from the outside moves in, they kill each other. They're like that. They're cannibals. But if you start from the outside to eliminate their system, they will kill. They will kill en masse. Or if they think you're even thinking about it, they may decide to kill en masse. And what they've done often is they've started wars. The British method is not, in particular, to go out and fight to win a war. The British method is to get other people to go out and fight a war and kill each other. And they then come in and pick up the pieces after the people have exhausted themselves in killing each other.
In order to rid the world of the degrading impact of the British Empire, United States President Franklin Roosevelt organized the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. Roosevelt intended to use the occasion to establish a new economic system, a global credit system, which would free the world from the grip of the British Empire and replace it with absolutely sovereign nations. Even before Roosevelt was elected US President in 1932, he was targeted for assassination by the financial powers in both London and Wall Street who hated him. The same financial circles who supported and financed the rise to power of Mussolini and Hitler. During the 1940s wartime alliance between the US and Britain, these fascist financial circles were still determined to destroy all the policies Roosevelt represented. Under the direction of John Maynard Keynes, the leader of the British delegation to the Bretton Woods Conference, the British worked to sabotage the policies Roosevelt and the Americans set out to achieve, fighting against the implementation of an international credit system, and instead defending an international monetary system which would maintain the power of the private financial interests that had supported Mussolini and Hitler.
The British wanted a continuation of what their imperial power had been based on for 200 years. Unfettered free trade and a monetary system where the power of finance could dictate to nations. Roosevelt wanted what was known as the American system, right? A national credit system where governments had the ultimate control of their nation's credit and could direct that credit to their own national economic development, building their own infrastructure, fostering agricultural industries, fostering manufacturing industries, and harnessing credit for that purpose. That's what Roosevelt wanted. And so the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944 was going to hash that out. And Ultimately, at the Bretton Woods Conference, Roosevelt's faction prevailed, right? And they devised the post-war Bretton Woods system. And it was a system with heavy regulation for finance. Governments were empowered to use capital controls to control the flow of finance in and out of their countries. The currencies of the world would be set to the US dollar, right? They'd all be fixed, and this was essential regulations that provided stability in the system.